A poor girl rescues a rich grandmother from the road with dementia, but it's the beginning of her life. Not only does she get a high-paying job, she'll also become her grandmother's granddaughter-in-law. Alice meets the grandmother's grandson on her first day at work, but what Alice doesn't know is, the man in front of her is the managing director of the company. She thinks he's the pervert who ate her last time. The wealthy young man doesn't understand. The brutal girl who once beat her up in the toilet. How could she be in his family's company? At that moment, Alice flashed her work card. She said she was the secretary of the company and warned the man to call security if he didn't leave the premises. There was no choice. The young plutocrat had to show his work card too. When Alice saw the work card, her eyes were shocked out of their sockets. She didn't expect the man in front of her to be the managing director of the company. At this moment, the chairman's secretary came over. The exasperated general manager asked the chairman's secretary, why did someone who had not attended the interview come to work for them? And who had let this brutal woman into the company through the back door? The secretary said nervously. The chairman had let the girl into the company, but at that moment of embarrassment, the chairman approached. The young tycoon called out to his father. Alice's jaw dropped when she heard it. She never thought the chairman of the board who arranged for her to join the company was actually the father of a man. She instantly felt that she was finished. The chairman explained to his son. Alice was the one who saved her grandmother from being lost, and it was because of her grandmother. Alice was late for the interview and missed it. The young plutocrat was going to teach Alice a lesson, but he didn't realize that she was the one who saved his grandmother's life. He had no choice but to stop. At this moment, Alice is hiding in a corner, feeling sad, thinking that she had gotten a job after a long time, but she had offended her boss. He had even hit him. The more Alice thought about it, the more upset she became. She thought she would be fired soon. To make up for her mistake, Alice put on her best foot forward. She brought the young plutocrat a cup of coffee and took the initiative to apologize for beating up the young plutocrat. A sincere apology. Since he worked for the same company, he forgave Alice. But just when Alice was happy to leave, he pretended to be dizzy again. He said that since he had been hit by a bin in the toilet, he had been experiencing dizziness from time to time. Alice was terrified, unaware that the young plutocrat was putting on an act. After letting Alice leave, looking at Alice's worried face, the young plutocrat reassured himself that the young girl was so innocent. He was just pretending, and he really believed it, and the germ of love was growing in his heart. Alice had just returned home from work. She saw that Grandma Zaibatsu had come to see her again. It turns out that Granny Zaibatsu's Alzheimer's has returned. Once again, she sees Alice as her dead sister. Grandma Zaibatsu was happy just to be with Alice. Alice also cooked a delicious meal for her, thanks to the grandmother. It was thanks to her that she found a good job. Meanwhile, the chairman of the plutocrat's family is in a frenzy. He discovers that his mother has disappeared again. That's when Alice called the chairman, asking her to come and fetch the Zaibatsu grandmother home. But when the chairman and his wife came to take the old lady home, the old lady did not want to go home with them. She picked up the flower from the table and threw it on her daughter-in-law. It turns out that the demented old lady thought her son was her deceased father. She saw her daughter-in-law as a mistress who had taken her mother's place from her father. She wouldn't go home with them. It was only when Alice called out to her sister. She calmed the Zaibatsu grandmother down. She said she would go back with her. With Alice by her side, she returned home quietly. The moment the uncle who was working as a driver for the Zaibatsu family saw Alice, he froze in his tracks, because Alice was the daughter he had longed for over 30 years.